John A. Merchant Taylors this week for our weekly catch-up. No other place to start, really. We're heading into June. Unbeaten, 9 games played in the season, 3 equally important games played pre-season, 12 out the way without a loss. Things are going pretty well.
Yes, they're definitely going pretty well at the moment. We as a group very much staying very level. We know what T20 can be like. We've started the tournament on the front foot, which is great. We have our set of identities that we talked about in red ball cricket, slightly different for the T20. We're working towards those every game, and so far the boys have played really well. And I think the best part of it is the 3 games so far. We've won 3 games in 3 completely different ways.
Yeah.
So from a coach's point of view, coaching staff point of view, it's really good to see that we're not just winning games one way. There are different ways of doing it, and we're using our brains really well in that, and so far so good.
Absolutely. A tough start down in Hampshire at the Aegeus Bowl. Obviously 14 for 3, sides of old possibly wouldn't have recovered from that. What I've noticed is that you've got other people stepping up. You're not reliant on a couple of people in the batting order, a couple of people to take wickets. You've got people stepping up with bat and ball, so where others perhaps fail, you've got people like Simo and Jack Davies who stepped up down at the Aegeus Bowl and turned that game around for us.
Yeah, and I think it's the story of the season so far, trying to set, very much a squad environment, very much you've always got a chance to play. And as we've spoken about, we've done the same with the T20. We haven't got a closed shot. We're trying not to have a closed shot. Obviously, the boys are playing well at the moment, so It's difficult to break into the team. But as you mentioned, Jack earlier, played man of the match, 48 or whatever it was, and then doesn't play the next game with Morgie coming back. So you need to have trust in your players and a very open dialogue and communication with them to get that honesty and that trust around them, that they know that they're not just out for no reason. And you explain it, and so far it's worked pretty well.
It's probably one of the biggest challenges I guess you've got as a head coach, when you've got other people knocking the door down and you've got people performing in the first 11. It does make it hard, as you say, to get into that side. On that note, Nathan Souter, what's your thinking with Souts?
It was tough to start the campaign. Obviously, Sout's been a good bowler for us in the last few years. Just for the balance of the team with Luke as the leg spinning all-rounder, he gives us a lot of power in that sort of middle order. So he got that sort of nudge over Souts. And obviously then Tills comes in and gives us a completely different style of bowler. So yeah, at the moment it's Luke that's got the gig because of his batting as well as his bowling. He just balances our team out beautifully. Coming in at number 7 gives us that real power to be able to, if we're behind the game, he can go in and change the game for us in that way.
I know one thing the boys are really keen on is having cricket in blocks rather than swapping from one format to the next, back to the next, back to the next. So the way the schedule is worked, whilst far from ideal for many people, it's kind of working for the players at the moment. So we're in a block of T20 at the moment. It's also worked out quite nicely in terms of venues, because we've had 3 T20s at Radlett, and then we'll have our latter 4 at Lords. Radlett to us is a venue, obviously we've won our first 2 games there. It's a venue we know so well, and it's a venue that all of these kids have grown up on. Do you see that as a massive advantage playing there?
Yeah, I think so. I think the boys have mentioned in interviews and stuff, they know the ground very well. They know the angles. They know the little the lengths to bowl, the lengths that they can hit, which obviously is an advantage. But we've also got to make Lords that for us as well, because that's our other home ground. So we've got to make sure that we're on it at Lords at the same time. But yes, the format stuff is interesting because, yes, it's great playing in a block, but as coach, you sort of also got to have a mind that we've got a red ball game coming up, and we've got to make sure that our bowlers have enough overs in them to get through that game as well. So it does create its issues as well as the players enjoying having a block.
One bloke that's really stood up with the ball this year is Toby Rowland-Jones. Obviously Toby was outstanding in the red ball cricket for us. He's now come into white ball format and he's doing equally as well. Jason Berendorf coming to the squad now. We're catching up with Jason shortly to welcome him to the club for an interview. Does that change your thinking a little in terms of Toby's selection? Does that give you the luxury perhaps to rest him for a couple of games ahead of that 4-day game against Derby?
Maybe. You'll be the third to know, as you know.
Thank you.
Jason gives us another great option up front. Watched him today in the nets and he bowled beautifully. It just means we've got another body to be able to rotate round. It's a tough little period. The amount of games come thick and fast. and as you say, Red Bull coming up. So it's all part of the management part of it, creating a squad that people come in and out and nothing really changes. The performance levels stay high, and we compete in every game, hopefully.
A win down at the Ageas Bowl, obviously our only away fixture so far. We're now going into another 2 against Sussex and Kent. Where do you see the threats coming from with our next 2 opponents?
The rain at the moment. They're all good sides. The win down at Hampshire was, in my eyes, an amazing win.
Yeah.
Defending that total, or getting to that total to start with after 14 for 3, a completely different game to the first game. We talked about different ways of winning, so that was a great win. I've not been a part of a team that's won too many games down there, to be honest, and it'll be just as tough. Hove and where was the other game you said? Canterbury, that was it. Hove and Canterbury is going to be just as tough. Kent are an exceptionally good side. So yeah, look, every game brings its own difficulties, but hopefully, as I said earlier, we'll keep banging away with our identity stuff and keep reviewing that and keep making that as good as we can be.
Well, Jono, so far so good. I hope it continues, of course. There's commitment above and beyond the call of duty.
Let me go in the dry now,
we're both completely bald, so nobody can see our hair getting wet. But it's hosing down here. I think it's time we knocked on the head. It's always good chatting to you. Thanks again for your time. Good luck for those 2 away games.
Pleasure.